Hey guys, Zomfox here, and some breaking news just a couple of hours ago from when this video is being posted. The UFL officially announced that there are plans for expansion and that the process has begun. This is completely out of nowhere. Look, the truth is we were expecting a schedule this week according to what Skip Holtz said during his interview like a week or two ago where he said like, oh, in the next 2 weeks we'll get a schedule. So we were expecting big news this week. We were expecting a schedule. Not this, okay? So let's just talk immediately about this whole thing. So first of all, this is the official press release as well as the Mike Mitchell tweet. He was the only guy that I saw that really put out full internal details of what it seems like the league wants. So, yeah, Skip Holtz basically talked about how expansion felt like it was going to be off. Maybe he was just trying to gaslight us all. We don't know. But this is huge news. So the UFL is in the process of expanding teams. The UFL is laying the groundwork for future growth, other stuff like that Russ Brandon says, looking for the long haul and all that, trying to find the strongest markets to support the growth. The UFL is looking at several core attributes, which includes new cities, including fan interest and exciting sports culture, geographically, and population, and venue, and all that kind of stuff. So, this is a big deal, okay? Now, Mike Mitchell, in his tweet, talked about the internal goal is to add 2 teams in 2026 and 2 more teams in 2027 or by 2027, which naturally means for that season. So essentially, play the 8 teams in 25, then add 2 teams back-to-back years is what it looks like, with each conference getting 1 team each time. So number 1, for those of you who want the Roughnecks to return the XFL conference, at least according to Mike Mitchell, doesn't look like that's happening. Now in terms of expansion, the 2 teams, what I've been asking. Look, ever since we heard those initial rumors of forced expansion in 2025, I said that it was a terrible idea to expand in 2025. Wait till 2026. Fix the internal issues you had in the league. Issues with local marketing, which, is it as good as you want? No. But is it better than last year? Yes. Fix issues with getting info out earlier. The league has done a tremendous job at that. Getting better stadiums or better places and all that. The league's done a great job of that aside from screwing up San Antonio's home situation. So the league has been getting better at fixing the issues of their 8 teams. Then in 2026 is when you add 2 more teams, which is what I've been saying. And this is basically proof of them saying, hey, that's the goal. Add 2 teams in 2026. Okay? Now the 2 more teams in 2027 is definitely ambitious. But again, the UFL has already been making it clear that they are not viewing this like other leagues in the past. The XFL in 23, even the USFL in 22, the AAF, the 2020 XFL. It never felt like they were building for the future. It always felt like they were building for the current year they were in. And it was just kind of make it to the next year. The UFL has not felt like that at all. It has been very clear they're always thinking about the future. They're casually just saying stuff about next year, adding the international showcase in Switzerland, I believe it's Switzerland, that's next year. That's already showing stuff for next year, mentioning the 26 season when it comes to season tickets. These might not be the biggest deals, but they are things that do talk about future seasons. So this is definitely pretty huge. Now, the 4 teams by 27, I think is definitely, like I said, it's very ambitious. But it's going to be really cool to see. Again, spring football in this modern era has been around since 2019 with the AAF. Every league has only had 8 teams. We have never had more than that. So 2026, if we end up having 10 teams, would be huge. Now, I will say from the press release, it does feel like they are not going to limit themselves to cities that had a USFL or XFL team or cities that, had the name in the USL case, right? Because I know a lot of people were expecting that if the league expands, it's going to add teams that were taken away. From what they're saying, when you say identify the strongest markets to support ambitious growth goals and all the core attributes, it feels like this is not a guarantee that we're going to get teams being brought back. Do I expect that we see at least 1 or 2? Admittedly, yeah, the league has a lot of trademarks between the XFL and USFL they can't use. Remember, the USFL did get a lot of the old trademarks that they're not even using. So, we'll see. Now, in terms of just looking at the map, I wanted to bring this up to talk about the geographic part. Right, the UFL is located basically just purely on the east half of the U.S. There is no team even really in the Midwest at all either, right? You have the 3 Texas teams, then every other team is like in the eastern third of the U.S. So in terms of expansion teams, I feel like this is one where I could really see them try and kind of cheap out on geographic-wise, right? To start, there's a whole area in between like DC and Birmingham that you might put a team in. Selfishly, I'd like them to put a team in Raleigh, but you have areas in NC. You already have 3 teams in Texas. Would I be shocked that they put a team in Nashville? No. Do I think they will? Also no, but they could, right? You have Indianapolis, another big city. You have Chicago, another big city. The entirety of Florida, again, bringing back old teams. The Vipers played in Florida. The Guardians played in Florida. The Bandits had the name of a Florida team even though they didn't play there. So you have 3 teams right there that have played in recent years that you could put there. So who knows? Then even the Northeast, right? I know some people have been recently pushing for a Connecticut team. You have places like Philly, like Pittsburgh. You have New York. So you have that whole area as well. Then in terms of the Midwest and all that, I do think they should start expanding west. Again, another not super far, but still somewhat more west place, you have KC. It can be an immediate rival to St. Louis. I think that you could put one there. I know a lot of people have been wanting a team in OKC, and there's a lot of other places like that. The fact is there is a lot of options for you with this map to either slowly start expanding west or just stick with your central area, right? And I know a lot of people want to see them expand west. Some people have issues about how, the XFL, a huge issue with their schedule was because of them trying to cater towards the West with the Dragons. It led to some games being on at like 10 p.m., which nobody wants that in the eastern half of the U.S., which is the more important half from a TV standpoint. So it's a weird thing about exactly what the goal is. Again, if you're viewing this, though, as 4 teams by 2027, the league has to expand west, right? They can try to be as cheap as they want in terms of geographic. You have to expand west if you're adding 4 teams. Ain't no way they're going to add 4 teams that are all still on this eastern third of the U.S. But in terms of how far west they go, I would imagine if you're adding 4 teams, you might as well maybe just do an entire West Conference or something. Because again, in terms of changing how the league is structured, will they? I don't know, right? If you add 2 teams in each conference, you'll have 6 in each. You very much could do it a 2-division style conference each, right? You could. Because as of now, you already have a South Division made for really both leagues at that point. Because you'd have the Showboat Stallions and Roughnecks basically being a South, and you'd have the XFL already split between 2 and 2. So if you just add 1 team South, you can do South and North for both conferences, which I know some would say is kind of weird or, not the best, but you could, Or they're just going to stick it with the conferences, which honestly, I wouldn't be against. I think it would be pretty cool to see a football league try and take the NBA style of just having 2 conferences, as that's all that really matters. I know the NBA has divisions, but nobody really cares about them. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But again, in terms of the expansion news, I think this is huge news. And other people are talking about on Twitter that this is something that definitely feels like they're trying to draw more excitement for the 2025 season. When you're saying, hey, we are looking to expand and we're probably going to do it in 2026, you make people want to invest in the league because the issue has always been the league isn't going to last. When you're saying things like this, having insiders say the internal goal is adding more teams in 2027, when you're doing all these things that are preemptive, it makes it very obvious that the league knows what they're doing and trying to go for the future. Look, I know we all want to see owners, but the truth is getting owners is not just an easy feat, okay? It's not just something you can get like that. Now, some teams, could they get owners? Sure, the Battlehawks have the fan base to support a person saying, maybe I'll buy them. And other teams are similar to that in a local sense. But overall, remember, these guys have a ton of money to spend, right? Fox, Redbird, and all them. So them saying things like this expansion shows that they know what they're doing, right? They said that the UFL was ahead of schedule from what they did in 2024. So this is huge news. Again, we should be getting a schedule within the next week or 2 if Skip is right. So we're getting some massive news really quickly. But overall, I think that'll do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think down below about the expansion happening for the UFL in 2026 most likely. Where do you think they're going to go? Again, we've talked about a lot, the shrine for the New Orleans Breakers if they were to make their grand, re-debut in New Orleans since they never did in the USFL, the modern one. I know a lot of people think that they could bring a team there. People joking that they'll add a 4th team to Texas because why not? But there's a lot of options for the league to do. And overall, I think that a good comment would be, what is your guess on how many teams are true expansion teams and how many are returning teams? How many are teams that the league already has trademarks for from either the OG USFL, the new USFL, or either XFL? And how many are true expansion teams? Let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified as soon as I upload any videos, as I cover any major news that comes out about the UFL. I also have another video coming out later today. This is a double upload day, as I will be having a video talking about the insanely great players we saw in the NFL that were from spring football this past week in Week 12. And as always, guys, have a great night.